Yeah. Hey everyone, good evening. Sorry about that. My name is Tyler Gammon. I'm the senior coordinator with the BC Lions Football Club, and I'm going to be your moderator this evening for the BC Lions Coaches Playbook seminar. So real quick about me, I'm working on and executing our grassroots football programs, here in Lower Mainland and Fraser Valley. Fortunately, we haven't been able to do any of those this year due to COVID-19, but we wanted to figure out a way to continue the relationship between amateur football in BC and the BC Lions, and thus the BC Lions Coaches Playbook program was born. So what we're going to be doing is over the next 5 weeks, we're going to be hosting an hour seminar every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and each seminar is going to talk about a different football discipline. So we're going to start tonight with quarterback development, and we're going to end on November 4th. I can't remember the topic, but you can learn more. You can check that out on the BC Lions Coaches Playbook webpage. Thank you all for joining tonight. I know I see a lot of you who did sign up, have signed up for future webinars, and that's great. If you have any other coaches that you either coach with or friends who may be interested in developing their coaching skills, please direct them to the BC Lions Coaches Playbook webpage where they can learn more. They can register for any future seminars that they may be interested in. We want to be able to share the message with as many coaches in BC as possible and throughout the country. We also have a couple people outside BC joining us tonight. So before we get going, I wanted to give a big shout out to our sponsors of the program. There's BOSA Construction and GML Mechanical. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to put on these webinars for you tonight. So huge thank you to both of them. And so, like I said, tonight, again, is all about QB development. On our call tonight, we have our offensive coordinator, Jordan Maksymic, and our offensive assistant, Danny O'Brien. They'll be both leading the webinar for the next 45 minutes or so. So real brief rundown, we have an hour between here 7 and 8. So the first 45 minutes you're going to be hearing from both Jordan and Danny, and they have slideshows to go along with what they're going to be talking about. In the last 10-15 minutes, we're going to answer your questions. So some of you have submitted some questions ahead of time when you registered. That's great. I have a few of them queued up right here. If you have any questions while we're going, feel free to use the chat function, and we'll keep track of all the questions that come through, and we'll pick the best ones. Try and answer as many questions as we can. There's no guarantee we'll be able to get to all of them. And yeah, that's about it. So why don't I turn it over to Jordan and Danny? Let's get started.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Like Tyler said, my name is Jordan Maksymic, currently the offensive coordinator in BC for the Lions. My football career, I guess, started in Calgary with the Stampeders. I was working in the equipment room there. That kind of launched me into this profession, and I bounced around a little bit from there, working odd jobs, equipment, video, different things like that. Finally got my way into coaching and some quality control roles. I got my first position job, I should say, in Ottawa, coaching the running backs. Ended up in Edmonton, then coaching the quarterbacks for the last few years, and now happy to be in BC as the offensive coordinator.
All right, and hey guys, my name's Danny O'Brien. As Tyler said, my coaching resume is a little shorter than Jordan's. This is my very first coaching job here as the offensive assistant with the Lions. I spent my last 6 years bouncing around the league as a backup quarterback and played my college ball down south. So definitely excited to get rolling here as a coach and looking to these guys, and excited that we can all meet here tonight and talk some football.
We good to dive into this thing, Tyler?
Good to go.
Okay, first of all, guys, just wanted to welcome everybody and say thank you. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to you guys. Obviously, we hope everybody's healthy and doing well, considering the circumstances that we're in. And I just want to say thanks for making the best out of a tough situation. I really think you guys that have taken the time to log on and sit through this stuff should be commended for that. Obviously, we all wish we were playing football, coaching football in some form or fashion, but again, given the circumstances, we just can't do that right now. And I know we're all upset sitting at home, but at the same time, we can't dwell on it. We got to keep moving forward. We have to stay positive. We got to continue to get better, because when we do get back on the football field, there's going to be guys that just sat at home and pouted the entire time, and then there's going to be guys like you that use this time to get better. So like I said, I really think you should be commended for being here tonight. We want to go to the next slide. So I always include this before I start these clinic talks, just kind of my philosophy of the whole thing. I believe as coaches, it's our job to give players tools for their toolboxes, things, suggestions, skills that they can incorporate into their game to make them better players. That's kind of how I feel for clinics. It's coaches giving other coaches tools for their toolboxes. And the whole thing, guys, is just being open-minded. Be open-minded enough not to get stuck in a lane of coaching the same stuff you've always been coaching just because that's the way you were coached it, kind of thing. If you hear a suggestion that you like tonight, incorporate it into your coaching. Try and find different things that work best for your athlete, because in the end, that's the goal. It doesn't matter whose idea it is, if it's your idea or if it's somebody else's. The main deal is to make our athletes the best they possibly can be. Okay, so just if we can be open-minded through this whole process, I think that's best for our players. Okay, the discussion topics, the things that we'll run through tonight, we'll talk a little bit quarterback philosophy right away. Then we'll get into the different skills, so dropbacks, in the pocket, passing motion, and then Danny will talk about some drills. I'll apologize in advance if I'm racing through this stuff. There's a lot of information here that I want to get you guys in the limited time that we have. So like Tyler said, there will be a Q&A at the end if anything is unclear, or if I'm kind of going in circles here and need something cleared up, make sure to ask a question at the end, so I can clear anything up that you might miss through the presentation. Okay, quarterback philosophy. Obviously, you don't play quarterback, you are a quarterback. Okay, it's not just a position between the white lines. You're a quarterback in the locker room, you're a quarterback on the bus, in the hallways at school. It's a mindset. It's not just a position. Don't underestimate the power of your influence. And you see in parentheses there, I put Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if you guys hung around for the end of that Monday night game, the second Monday night game, I guess it was, Atlanta and Green Bay. But they told a story in the fourth quarter about Aaron Rodgers and the impact that he had on a couple of young players on the team. And there were players that went through some injuries, weren't playing up to their potential. The media was on them, the coaches were on them a little bit, and these guys told the story of how A-Rod would go by and say, like, I got you, I believe in you, kind of thing. And for Aaron Rodgers, it was a 3-second comment in passing, but the weight that it held for those young guys, it literally changed their careers around. It gave them the motivation that they needed to keep going. So I know none of us are coaching Aaron Rodgers, but think of it in terms of what you guys might be dealing with. If you're depending on a grade 10 or grade 11 kid to contribute to your team and he's having a rough go at it, and the coaches are on him and his teammates are on him, and the star 12th grade quarterback comes up to him in the locker room and says, hey man, I got your back, like it's all good. That's going to go a long way for those guys. So make sure your quarterbacks really understand the influence that they have. And then finally, your attitude is the team's attitude. If you go 2-0 and you come off positive and upbeat, then that bench is going to be positive and upbeat as well. If you come off kicking dirt and swearing, then all the heads on the bench are going to drop. So your quarterback has to realize that just by nature of the position, all eyes are on him every single play. So his attitude is gonna rub off on the rest of the team. A few qualities that we'll go through real quick. Intangible qualities, unquestioned leader. Obviously, they can do it in their own way. Okay, they can be the guy that stands in the middle of the locker room and gives the rah-rah speech. But I've been around a lot of guys that are perfectly content and perfectly able to lead by example quietly, but still, regardless, they are the unquestioned leader of the football team. Selfless, take blame, credit others, not a palms up guy. Okay, we don't want to see guys on film after they throw an incomplete pass, throw their arms up, okay, start pointing and directing receivers. That's just selfish stuff, okay? We can figure out who is wrong on the bench or in the classroom after the game, okay? You don't need to put your palms up to make sure the rest of the crowd knows that it wasn't your fault that you threw an incomplete pass, okay? That's just selfish stuff. Functional intelligence, don't think they need to be a genius, okay? But functional intelligence, the ability to learn, the ability to process and process quickly, okay? You might have heard the term a quick blinker, okay? We need guys to see things fast, to digest that information, and to react quickly, okay? They got to be a quick blinker. They got to process things really quickly and be decisive. Emotional stability, okay? We don't want guys to ride that roller coaster, okay? You always hear it said, okay? If you look at that guy, you don't know if they're up by 20 or down by 20. I mean, it's cliche, but it's true, okay? Those are the guys that we want. Confidence, the term I use is controlled arrogance. So we don't want an arrogant prick walking around the locker room as a quarterback, okay, but they got to believe in themselves a little bit, okay? They have to have that belief in their ability, so they do have to be confident. And then I put earn it. I'm a big believer in earned confidence. I've had the occasion to be around some quarterbacks that are really good at preparing. They love the process. Their preparation techniques are outstanding. And when they get to the game, they're confident as heck because they know all the answers. They know the game plan inside out. They know the defense inside out because they've studied so hard. And when you know the answers to the test, it's pretty easy to be really confident. And then finally, a winner. A lot of the best quarterbacks are scratch golfers. They'll hold their own on the basketball court. They'll beat your ass in ping pong or chess or whatever you do, okay? A lot of the guys that are good quarterbacks are also just those guys that are good at everything. Tangible qualities, accuracy and arm talent. Okay, obviously in there you don't see arm strength. I'm not a believer in arm strength, but arm talent. Okay, you just need the ability to threaten all areas of the field. If you can bomb it 75 yards down the field, awesome. Okay, but if you can't throw a 6-yard under route, then we're going to have bigger problems. Okay, so you got to be accurate and you have to have arm talent. Load to arrival time. Okay, I think this gets really overblown as far as the guys with the big swinging motions. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, the best guy going right now, he dips the ball, okay, but he's got such exceptional arm talent after the fact that it's all good, okay? So when he loads the ball, even if he does dip it a little bit, okay, he makes up for it afterwards, so it's all good, okay? So that load to arrival time is an important measure as well. Okay, functional mobility, again, they don't need to scramble around, they don't need to be the super athlete, okay, but they do need the ability to navigate the pocket and extend plays when needed. And toughness is a couple things. Okay, so toughness is obviously getting hit and getting back up, being a durable football player. You need to do that to play the quarterback position, but also that your passes are unaffected when you're in tough situations falls into this category. So when it's a messy pocket, when there's guys at your feet, when you're throwing a ball and you know you're going to get whacked, okay, throws like that. It's a critical situation. 3rd and 4th down throws, depending on where you're playing. Throws in the red area. Throws in bad weather, when it's snowing, when it's windy. Throws in overtime, all that kind of stuff. When you're in the open field and it's 1st and 10 and you have a clean pocket, you should be able to make a bunch of good throws, a bunch of accurate throws, okay? That doesn't make a quarterback, okay? It's those hard throws, those tough throws that really make a quarterback. And then ball security, finally, you got to take care of the football, okay? So obviously in the pocket, you have to have 2 hands on the football, okay? You can't fumble the football, and you got to make good decisions as far as throwing interceptions as well. Ball security is critical. Okay, diving into the fundamentals. Okay, so dropbacks. Okay, we are huge believers in tying all of our pass concepts to our quarterback's feet. Now we've got a bunch of dropbacks and a bunch of variations off those dropbacks. I'm not telling you guys that you need to do that, but I would encourage you guys, no matter what level you're at, to tie some of your pass concepts to your quarterback's feet. And what I mean by that is if you're throwing a bunch of corner routes in your offense, then your quarterback's feet should look the exact same every time he throws that corner route. If he takes one crossover, plants, and throws that corner route, it should be that way every single time. One time he shouldn't just shuffle his feet back a little bit and put the ball up. You shouldn't take 3 crossovers one time and put the ball up if it's the same route. It's a really good way of keeping them honest. When you're doing film after and he misses a throw, saying, hey, you were late to this throw because you took an extra crossover. It's just a really good measure. So again, it doesn't need to be super in depth or anything like that, but I definitely would encourage you guys as much as you can to tie your quarterback's feet, to tie their dropbacks to as many pass concepts in your offense as you can. Dropbacks have to be balanced and controlled from start to finish. Okay, think of the dropback as the start of your passing motion. If you're crazy and out of balance in your dropback, okay, your throwing motion is going to be exactly the same. You're going to be crazy and off balance then. Obviously, it's going to lead to an inaccurate pass. Okay, so it's not a race, just a nice tempo drop back so that you're balanced and controlled from start to finish. Okay, obviously secure the snap first before we do anything. Don't get lazy. Okay, that should become a second nature. I'm guessing everybody on here is taking shotgun snaps. So make sure we get the ball secured first. Talking upper body first on this slide, just relax. Okay, gone are the days of this with the elbows up and the shoulders tense. Okay, that we see in the old school film and the old school pictures. Okay, that's gone. We don't want any tension. Okay, so shoulders, elbows are relaxed. You see the picture of Mike off to the side, it should look like that. Okay, shoulders down. Okay, there's no tension in the neck, elbows down as well. Everybody asks where you want to carry the ball. I say, where would you throw a punch from? Okay, that's the best way to do it. It should end up again where Mike has it here, kind of in the middle of your chest, close to that back number. But again, think of where you would throw a punch from. You wouldn't throw a punch from out here, okay, way up far. You wouldn't throw it from back here or up here, okay, just where you would throw a punch from, hold the football there, and that's going to be the best spot for it. Keep the ball quiet. So when you're moving back in the drop back, we don't need big swings. That's going to throw us off balance. Okay, keep the ball quiet. Keep it between the armpits. Even better, keep it between the numbers. You can sway it a little bit to help with momentum. Okay, but keep it nice and quiet. We don't need big swings. And then face mask to the free safety, just like Mike has in this picture. Obviously, we don't want our eyes down looking at the rush. We don't want to be staring at the sideline. We want our face mask out towards the field. We're reading the defense. Okay, talking some lower body stuff here as far as the drop back goes. The first step, okay, the drive step or the escape step, some people call it. Don't reach, okay, we want to drive. So again, everything I talk about on here, I'm talking a right-handed quarterback just so that we're on the same page when I'm talking my lefts and my rights. So if we're taking a big step with that right leg, okay, as we drop back take our first step, don't teach your guys to reach with the right leg, drive off the left leg. Use those big muscles in the left leg, okay, to really drive and to really get you that distance away from center on that first step, okay, rather than just reaching with the right leg. You just do not have the same amount of power if you reach with the right versus really driving off that glute on the left leg. Crossovers, okay, so whether it's one crossover, 2 crossovers, however many you have in your drop back, skim the grass with your feet. Okay, so we don't need big clunky steps, just skim the grass with your feet. We talk about credit card heels. Okay, so we don't want our whole foot in the ground and we don't want to be up high on our toes. We want to be on the balls of our feet with our heels slightly off the ground. Okay, enough space between the grass and our heels that you could slide something the width of a credit card or a couple pieces of paper underneath. Okay, that's what we're aiming for. And then a heel to toe relationship when you cross over. Okay, so when you cross over, again, I'm crossing my left leg over my right leg. Okay, when I cross over, my left heel, okay, should line up with my right toe. Again, we don't want it to be out here or too tight, because then we're going to get into balance issues. Okay, this next thing is really important. The second last step turns the ship. So again, for a right-handed quarterback, the last time your left foot is in the ground is critical where you place that step, because that's going to be the rudder for your boat, okay, the rudder for your body, I should say. That's going to turn the whole ship, okay? So if that thing is pointed direct, if your toes are pointed directly at the sideline and your ankle's out to the field, your body's going to be turned to the sideline, which is not where you're throwing, okay? You want to cock that foot in the ground, okay, whether you're throwing right or left, okay, so that it turns your whole body in that direction and you're not throwing against that leg, okay? So second last step, it just should not just go directly straight into the ground like this, okay? Like I said, it should be cocked to one side or the other, and that's going to really turn your whole body in that direction and get us lined up to make the throw, okay? We want to throw in straight lines, okay? We don't want our hips and our legs to be pointed in one direction and throw against our body. Okay, and the last step, obviously we can plant and throw, or we can hitch and throw. I won't get into plant or hitch specifics, okay, but regardless, these points hold true for both things. The point of this step is to stop the momentum. Okay, we want to land this step just outside of the back hip, again, like you see the picture with Mike, okay, on the inside arch of our foot. It's really important that we stress this, because I find, especially with young kids, okay, they build up so much momentum going backwards in their drop. They put that last foot in the ground, and then you get this little sway back until they get back into position to throw. Okay, that step needs to stop our momentum. Okay, we can't have that sway. Okay, so that step, inside arch of your foot, it lands in the ground, it stops your momentum. The last point is not illustrated here. You see how Mike has landed on a straight leg. I like to teach land into a loaded glute. Okay, so have bend in your hip when you land, have bend in your knee when you land, okay, so that you can drive off that. You're now in a position to put that foot in the ground and drive off into the throw if you want. If you land on a straight leg like Mike has in this picture, you still need to bend down before you can throw. You still need to get bend in your hip and your knee before you can throw, okay? So if you land into a loaded glute, now you don't have to move, okay? Now you're in a position already where you can throw, where you can get the ball out. It saves you half of a second in your passing motion. Okay, in the end, like I said, we want to start controlled, we want to finish under control. Okay, so if we finish our drop back under control, we're in a solid base. Now we can have a good base to throw from. It's important to develop a rhythmic and consistent drop back. We work on it every day. Okay, our quarterbacks drop back every single practice. Okay, it gets tedious, but it has to be rhythmic. It has to be consistent. Okay, like I said, it has to marry up to your past concepts. And then it just, you have that relationship where you're on time for all of your throws. Okay, a few things on pocket movement. Obviously, you're the quarterback. You touch the football on every play. That's a privilege, so protect the football. Okay, all 10 fingers on the ball at all times, like you see Mike in the picture. That's a must. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Okay, play strong in the pocket. You guys might have heard play tall in the pocket. I don't necessarily believe in that. Okay, when you get tall, you get off balance. Okay, play strong in the pocket. You need to maintain a solid base, so you got to have bend in your hips, knees, and ankles. Okay, don't get too tall because then you get tippy. Sudden, compact movements. Okay, so again, nice choppy steps. Skim the grass with your feet. We don't need to be taking big giant steps in the pocket. Okay, just sudden, compact movements. Maintain downfield vision. Again, don't be looking at the rush, anything like that. Okay, feel the people, feel the defenders around you. Okay, keep your eyes downfield so you know what's going on there with your receivers and with the defense. I think this point is important to stress, especially to young kids. Big plays come when you climb the pocket. Okay, so many times when guys pull the chute and want to get out of the pocket, they scramble right or they scramble left, and they don't even think about climbing the pocket. Obviously, when you go to the right or the left, you're cutting the field in half. Okay, so you're doing the defensive favor and you're hurting yourself. Okay, if you can navigate the pocket and then you can climb the pocket, okay, when things get messy around, now the whole field is still available. Okay, and you can throw the ball downfield from there. Platform reset if you can. Okay, so if you've had to navigate the pocket, okay, and your feet are all wacky, okay, and you're supposed to throw to the right, but your feet are pointed left, if you have the time and the space, platform reset if you can. So what I mean by that, okay, flip your hips, flip your legs around in the direction of your target so that you're throwing in a straight line. Okay, that's only, like I said, if you have the time and space. If not, if you have to throw on the run, okay, we'll talk about this a little bit later with the passing motion. You got to be able to separate your upper half and lower half. The guys in the league, the guys that I always talk about, Mahomes and Rodgers, they're outstanding at that stuff. It doesn't matter what their feet are doing or where they're going. They have such great separation of their upper and lower half, and they get so much snap out of their hips, okay, and their torso, that they're able to make throws on the run, and with their feet in all kinds of directions. Big part of that is flashing the front shoulder. Okay, so again, whichever way you're headed, whichever way your target is, if you can flash your front shoulder quickly at your target, okay, it's going to at least get that upper half lined up with where we want to throw, no matter what's going on with your lower half. Okay, and then in the end, know when enough is enough. Be smart, protect the football. Okay, sometimes there's just nobody open. Okay, scramble for a few yards, hit the dirt, throw the ball away. Our job as quarterbacks is to protect the football. So make sure that we're smart. Don't do anything to put the football in jeopardy to hurt our team. Okay, last one is passing mechanics. And I'll do a bit of a disclaimer here. I do not profess to be a swing coach, quarterback guru, anything like that. Second part of the disclaimer is there are a lot of guys who do claim to be swing coaches and quarterback gurus. So practice quarterback coach literacy. You see there in orange. There's a ton of information out there when it comes to throwing motion and passing mechanics. Guys are literally making a living teaching this stuff. If you're sending your kids to any of them, if you're learning from them, anything like that, all I say is just do your research, okay? Make sure the guys are legit, make sure they're teaching good stuff, and that they're not just really good at social media. Okay, there's a lot of stuff out there. Some of it is really good. A lot of these guys that are on YouTube and social media are really good and they teach really good stuff. There's also really bad stuff, okay? So just kind of have your antennas up when you're looking through stuff like that and know if guys are legit or not. Every quarterback is unique. Not all throwing motions will look the same. Okay, I think we've gotten past that. In football, 12, 15 years ago, everybody had to throw it and look exactly like Peyton Manning. We don't have to do that anymore. There's so many guys that have so many different passing motions and so many different arm angles and things like that. I don't think that's a deal anymore, okay? If they're a natural thrower of the football, whatever their motion is, don't try and change it. Just let it go. That being said, regardless, you can still improve accuracy and velocity, okay, by working on timing, sequencing, and mechanics, okay? So whatever their swing is, okay, you can still make it more accurate and you can still get more velocity behind that throw by working on a few things that we'll talk about here. Okay, the throwing motion is very fast. It's very complex, okay? It happens in a blink, okay? It happens so fast. Work on the big stuff, okay? Talk about the hips. Okay, we'll talk more about what I mean by talk about the big stuff. But we don't need to be breaking down the exact arm angle or path of the arm, anything like that. That stuff happens so fast. Okay, it's a real hard thing to correct, and I'll dive more into that in a second here. Okay, coach from the center out. Okay, so like I was saying, okay, coach, it's just like building a football team. Okay, you hear the best teams are built from the middle out, from the offensive line out. Think about the same thing coaching a quarterback. Okay, coach from the middle out. Okay, forget about talking legs and feet and arms and hands and wrists. Okay, talk big body parts right in the middle of your body. Focus on the start and the finish. Okay, like I said, the actual arm motion itself, okay, the circle is real quick. If you focus on the start and if you focus on the finish, okay, it's going to give you really good anchor points to coach. Okay, avoid giving static anchor points in the middle of the action. That's going to lead to a clunky throw. Okay, if you give exact points where the arm needs to be during the throw, then your quarterback is going to try and hit it, and it's going to turn into a choppy, clunky motion. It needs to be a fluid motion. It needs to be a quick, fluid, smooth motion. Okay, if we get any clunkiness or anything like that, okay, that's going to hurt the motion. Okay, so we avoid it altogether as far as giving static points during the motion itself. We focus on the start, we focus on the finish, okay, and we just let them be natural and fluid through the actual motion itself. Make sure they understand this. It is a sequential motion, okay? Different things have to fire at different times. It is not the whole body going at once when we throw the football, okay? It's hips first, then it's torso, then it's elbow, then it's shoulder. All those things have to happen in a rapid sequence, and they have to fire at different times to get the most velocity behind the football. Okay, we have to have a great base, okay? Drop your hips. Okay, hips over the inside of ankles. Okay, don't be too skinny in your base. Don't be too wide. Hips over inside of ankles is a good target. Okay, the first thing that starts is the hips. Again, coach the big things. Okay, coach the big body parts. No more open your foot. Okay, open your left foot. Stride with your left foot. Anything like that. We don't need to talk about feet. We don't need to talk about legs. Anything like that. If you say fire the hips, okay, if that back hip fires and that front hip pulls, okay, that front leg has no choice but to open. Okay, it's going to open. That front foot is going to open, okay, if you fire those hips. Okay, and that's a lot stronger of a body part that's firing, okay, than just simply opening your big toe. Okay, so fire those front hips. That's the first thing that starts. At the same time, there has to be a bit of a counter rotation. So as your hips fire towards your target, okay, now you need to counter rotate a little bit on the upper half to really get that sling in your body. Okay, it happens quick. Okay, again, we don't want a big clunky anything like that. It's just a quick little twitch. Okay, but if we can get that counter rotate, then you'll really feel that stretch in your torso. Okay, L transition. Okay, so as your lower half is opening, okay, your upper half, your arms are going through what we call an L transition, and that's what the picture is of Mike there. Okay. Equal and opposite. Okay, so both arms, your left and your right, should go through a similar path. Okay, equal but opposite path. Think of a circus performer on a tightrope. Okay, as they walk, okay, on the tightrope, they use their arms to balance themselves. It's the same thing. Okay, if our right arm is doing this and our left arm is down there, we're going to be off balance. Okay, so we want to be equal and opposite to keep ourselves balanced throughout the entire motion. Okay, you have to get to what we call a vertical L, which is where Mike is in the picture. It's not going to be perfect. Okay, it's not going to be a perfect 90 degrees here, 90 degrees there, anything like that. Okay, but you have to get to some sort of vertical L with your throwing arm. Okay, to get that elbow to then start. Okay, so we need to go from what we call the horizontal L to the vertical L. Okay, it's a real fast motion. Okay, but it's something that all the best throwers do. Do not coach skipping it. Okay, so many guys coach go from here right to vertical L. Okay, that's going to lead to a clunky throw. That's going to lead to a throw with hitches in it. Okay, just a nice horizontal to vertical. Okay, and then you're in a position to throw, fluid and fast. Okay, so now your hips have gone. Okay, so you've fired your hips, you've started them quickly, you've stopped them quickly in the direction of your target. Okay, now it's time for your torso, for your trunk to connect. Okay, so if you think of a whip, your hips are the base of a whip, and you've whipped it and you've stopped it. Okay, now it's time for the rest of the whip to come through, and that's your trunk. Okay, so again, snap your chest in the direction of your target. Start it quickly, stop it quickly. Okay. Your lead arm or your off arm, so for a right-handed quarterback, your left arm, okay, that needs to be your break. Okay, that needs to be your break. We want to stop our torso in the direction of our target. We don't want to rotate past our target because now we're wasting momentum, okay? We're throwing momentum towards the sideline rather than throwing momentum right to our target, okay? So our lead arm, our off arm needs to stop that, okay? The whole left side of our body, I should say, okay? So that needs to be solid. That's your brake, it's your stabilizer. Okay, where Mike has it in the picture is perfect. Sometimes it's a little bit higher for guys. You hear the thing, you should be able to eat a sandwich with your off arm. Okay, that's kind of the position that it should be in. But that's what it is. It's the brake, it's the stabilizer. It's to make sure you stay balanced. It's to make sure you stop your rotation once you get your chest in the direction of your target. Never pull, okay? Don't teach to pull with it. Okay, it's something I was taught early in my career. It's wrong. Again, it throws you off balance and it wastes momentum. You're throwing momentum behind your body rather than at your target, okay? All it is a stabilizer. No pulling, anything like that with your off arm. Okay, the throwing arm, we've talked about it. It needs to be fluid and fast, not muscled or clunky. Accelerate your elbow towards your target. Okay, it's a race to get your elbow ahead of your shoulder as fast as possible. Your elbow slot, again, the Peyton Manning thing, of course, it's the prettiest when your elbow kind of travels through that slot, kind of like your upper shoulder to your nose, that area. That's obviously the best part or the best throwing motion. I don't think it needs to be that way. If it needs to be a little bit lower, because you need to shape the throw around the hands of a defensive lineman, then do it. Do a little bit lower. If it needs to be higher because you need to drop a screen pass, again, over your offensive line and defensive linemen, then do it, okay? Don't get too caught up in exactly where that elbow slot needs to be. Okay, keep the back leg connected, okay? So this is for our follow through, okay? So we follow through, keep the back leg connected. Think of a hitter in baseball, okay? That hitter in baseball, his back leg doesn't go flying through, it stays in the dirt, right? If we keep the back leg connected, we're using as much ground force energy, okay, as we possibly can to get that rotation. If we lift that back leg off the ground, then we're losing a whole lot of energy that we could possibly put behind the throw. Make sure the intent is there. Sometimes in football, you just can't do it, okay? Sometimes that back leg just wants to come up and it is what it is, okay? But always make sure the intent is there, okay? It doesn't have to be connected 100% of the time. We would prefer it, but when we're moving around and there's guys at our feet, all that kind of stuff, it is what it is. Make sure the intent is there. Stay behind the throw. Again, we don't want to waste momentum in a direction opposite of our target, okay? So if we follow through and our body falls away from the throw, falls in a direction other than our target, okay, we're losing a bunch of momentum, okay? So we talk about staying behind the throw. We should finish, okay, with our knees somewhat even and both legs in the ground. Some really good coaching points for that is make sure you tell your quarterbacks keep their left cheek behind their left butt cheek behind their left heel. Okay, that'll prevent them from falling through their throw. Okay, and I also talk about think about that there's a parachute attached to your right butt cheek, and that's just really going to slow you down. Not so much slow you down, but it's going to keep you connected to the ground as you finish your throw. Okay, must follow through. Okay, again, more than flick of the wrist or anything like that. That's too small of a body part. If you think flex forearm, if you think pronate shoulder, okay, so turn shoulder in, okay, those are bigger body parts for your guys to think. It's really going to just add a little bit more to the throw at the end. You should end, again, bicep to the chest. You've probably heard put your right hand in your left pocket. If it's not exactly there, it's not that big of a deal, okay, but bicep to chest is another good ending point. In the end, we want to finish balanced and upright again, if we can, okay, if we can. If we're running around for our life and stuff like that and we're not perfectly balanced and upright, it is, but if we have a clean pocket, okay, we should be able to start the throw balanced and upright and finish the throw balanced and upright. Okay, just a few quick things here, and then I'll throw it to Danny. Our drill philosophy, okay? Create environments that are transferable to real football. Boring is fine if it's effective. It doesn't need to be a fancy drill, guys. If it's transferable to real football, okay, and it's boring and you don't use any bags or pool noodles, whatever, okay? If it's effective, that's what we want, okay? The goal is to get your quarterback better at football, not at drills, okay? Don't do drills that are not transferable to football, okay, just to do them because you think they're cool. Then you'll just get a quarterback that's really good at drills, okay? We don't want that. Okay, create pressure response moments. Avoid just going through the motions, even if it's small things. If you're shuffling through bags, okay, give them numbers with your hands, things like that, okay, to keep them engaged, okay, to change things up for them. If you just shuffle through bags every single day, okay, then they're just going to go through the motions. Be careful combining too many aspects into a drill. What exactly do you want to work on? Okay, if you want to work on dropbacks, do a dropback drill. If you want to work on pocket movement, do a pocket movement drill. Don't combine a dropback, a pocket movement, a throw, this kind of, because you're just going to lose it. Okay, you're going to end up working on nothing. Okay, so don't combine too many aspects into a drill. Find what you want to work on. Find a drill for that skill set and work on that. Create environments of self-discovery. Give your guys directions, not a solution. Let your athletes have light bulb moments, okay? So if you're working on deep ball accuracy, set up an environment where your guys are throwing deep balls, okay? And let them go through it, okay? If they leave one short, okay, just let them say, okay, let's do it again. If they put one long, okay, let's do it again. And you're gonna see it click, okay? You're gonna see it click when they find it, okay? And when they find that feeling and they can capture that feeling, that's so much more effective than you telling them what they should feel, okay? That light bulb moment, that feeling that they can capture and they can feel themselves of, oh yeah, that's the stroke I need to make that throw, okay? That's gonna be much more beneficial, okay? So create those environments, let them fail, okay? And then let them find it themselves. Okay, learning is not linear, okay? Don't expect your athletes to get better and better and better and better and better every single day. They're gonna have bad days. You might have to evaluate your coaching. You might have to say, hey, I'm gonna change up the drills here, okay? There's gonna be bumps in the road as you're learning. So don't expect constant improvement, okay? And then at the end, just talking quarterbacks, have accuracy parameters, even in warm-up, okay? Don't just throw to throw. Okay, even when you're warming up, tell them you're aiming for a left shoulder, a right shoulder, for the nose, anything like that. Okay, always have accuracy parameters for your quarterback. Never just throw to throw. That starts in warm up, and obviously it goes right through your practice. Okay, guys, if you haven't seen it on the coach's playbook website, Danny's got a couple good drills for you guys quarterback wise. He's going to talk about some more drills right now. That you can use for your quarterbacks.
All right. Well, first off, just like Jordan said, I want to thank everyone for showing up on Wednesday night. Just come to finally talk some football with people. No season for us, it's a big treat. But just to kind of narrow in a lot of all that great information that Jordan gave, I'm kind of focusing on some of the drills. I got a few slides that we'll pull up here. For me, I tried to keep the drills as applicable to your guys' system because everyone runs different stuff as possible while still following kind of the same theme. So for me, it's just drills that through my playing career, or an approach to drills that through my playing career I felt resonated the most as a player. Plus, the last 6 years, I've got some good experience in the offseason working back home in North Carolina with high school kids. So based on their feedback and their actual progress, some stuff that worked really well and some stuff like Jordan touched on. There's so much information out there these days that some drills fall into that category of you're just flinging a pool noodle around and it looks cool for Instagram and it gets clients, but doesn't necessarily make the quarterback better. So just trying to focus in on that. So today I'm going to focus on pocket movement, specifically two different types. So one, we'll touch on kind of our philosophy on pocket movement drills, and then we'll split them up into schedule, and I'll talk a little more about that, and then one being off schedule pocket movements, and then obviously we'll open up to questions. So just my philosophy and beliefs on this deal, as Jordan just said, is to make drills applicable. Drills should serve the function of getting better at football, not getting better at drills. And like I said, I've tried to make these as broad as possible so you guys can add them into your guys' deal, should you want to. I believe that there should be a purpose behind everything you do. There's a purpose behind everything we do at the quarterback position. So how we drill things, there should be a purpose behind everything. I'm a big fan of reverse engineering a drill. So finding one thing we want to get better at. I'll have an example in a diagram later, but let's just say we want to get better at manipulating a corner on a smash read with a high and a low. Let's work backwards from there to one, let the quarterback understand what that means, and then two, add in things that he's going to experience, be it a read key, the corner, or something in his face, a D-end, a guard getting pushed back, keeping his eyes downfield while feeling all of that stuff. You can work on so much at one time if there's a reason behind it. So start with what you want to get out of the drill and then work backwards. I'm a big believer that functionality translates, again, like Jordan said. From my experience, drills that you can refer back to game tape have always resonated the most with me. So if you're working on subtle movements in the pocket and we're going to work a left guard getting bowled into our face and not panicking, me as a player, if I can watch 10 clips of a guy doing that well and see how it should look, in my opinion, it's more likely to stick in those guys' mind. And when they put it together and their game tape looks like the drill tape, like Jordan said, again, that light bulb moment goes off. Okay, that's what that feels like. It goes from a coach telling you something to them fully understanding it, and I believe that's where growth comes. And I think the more light bulb moments that you can give your quarterbacks through functional drills, the slower the game is going to be for them. And then in my experience working with high school kids, more than any drill you can do or coaching point with legs and arms, while that's critical, the more the game slows down, the better they're going to play because their confidence grows. They feel it. They're getting the ball out more on time, more accurately. The leadership role grows. I've seen kids go from not much confidence as a freshman to a bunch of those light bulb moments go on, and they're the alpha their senior year. And a lot of them say just the game is so much slower, and that breeds confidence and that breeds success. So to me, the more you can get those light bulb moments to trigger, the better. And that's where the biggest improvements come. And the earlier you can get them, obviously, the better. And obviously, that's going to quiet down their brain. The last thing on the philosophy is just to practice how you play. So don't do anything that isn't going to show up in a game. We'll talk a little bit more about that because I believe that of all positions in football, the quarterback position is the hardest position to simulate game reps. If you're a point guard in basketball, you can go play 5-on-5 and work in-game situations all offseason. If you're a receiver, while you can't do 11-on-11 in the offseason, you can do one-on-ones and run routes versus man-to-man. It's really hard as quarterbacks. You're not going to get a full line, work pocket stuff, so you have to be smart in how you try to simulate it best you can. So here's kind of a few ways to do that for you guys. So the first one I've kind of labeled on-schedule drills, which to me, that's just within the confines of the timing of your offense. So it's drawn up a certain way. Here's a smash read here, very basic. It's drawn up a certain way. The pocket's clean enough for us to stay in the pocket and throw the ball on time. So it's not being robotic, but just within, you call something, you get what you want your quarterback to execute. So on schedule pocket movement, drill it how you would like it done in game. So as Jordan said, whatever your footwork is, if your drop here was 3 and a hitch, every time you rep this in practice, it should be 3 and a hitch, never anything different. And the specific drop's not important, but you just want it done the same way. The way I've always done it with my guys, if we could go back real quick, no big deal, but you would want to start, in my opinion, with this drill on air. So get them used to throwing a hitch on time the way you want it done, and a corner on time. And again, I use smash, but you could use any concept you guys use. Like I said, I want this to be as broad as possible. So anything you run, throw it on time. The next step is to add in the read key. So you can see the corner back here being the read key. So maybe tell the corner point high or low behind the quarterback to pick one, we throw away from it. So now he's used to his eyes being in the right spot or whatever your read key would be. And then once they get comfortable with that, we can add in, for example, here a defensive end, and you tell him, hey, pick a shoulder. So if he runs at your back shoulder, quarterback keeps his eyes downfield and slightly steps up. There's a video of this specific example on the coach's corner. If he picks an upfield shoulder, we just slide, move, make a throw. And another thing that this automatically creates is an environment where you're going to catch, especially some of your younger quarterbacks, you're going to catch them with their eyes on the defensive end. And it kind of brings out naturally that moment of telling them you're not going to have time in a game to look at a defensive end, react to them, get your eyes back on your read key and make a throw. So I've seen a lot of growth with younger quarterbacks. Once there is a read key, this also kind of simultaneously works on, what everyone calls pocket presence. So being able to have a good feel in the pocket, I think that's something you can practice. And it's an easy way to build that in. Another example would be, again, move that inside, an interior rush or a guard or center in our face and move around it. I just think it's a really simple way to build in any concepts you guys run and to have a quarterback, 1, keep his eyes downfield, 2, his eyes on the right read, and 3, develop some pocket presence. So yeah, it's anything that you guys run. I think this is a really good one. The next on schedule example, what I would call progression feet and eyes. And again, these dotted lines would just represent a very basic progression, kind of what you'd call a sprinkler head, left to right read. And just kind of focusing, as Jordan said, tying our eyes and our hips and our feet all together, going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. I think it's a great deal for quarterbacks to get comfortable doing that. Again, it could be any concept. This is just a very generic example. And there's a bunch of ways you could trigger these throws. You could do it on air first and say, hey, you're throwing to number 1 on time, and then just go all the way through, so on and so forth. You can, have the receivers. One thing we've done before is have their hands flash. So if number 1's open, he's flashing his hand. If he's not, he's turning around. So getting the quarterback used to looking at a guy, getting ready to throw it, and being ready to trigger. He's not open. He turns his back, resetting to the next thing. And so on and so forth down the line. Again, whatever concepts you guys want, but I think it really helps develop that sense of timing if you're running the route at the right depth or if they're stationary, but that sense of timing of when things are supposed to be open. The more you can groove that in your offense, you always hear coaches tell their quarterbacks, hey, listen to your feet, listen to your feet. This is grooving that. So if I'm meant, for example, to throw that comeback on the left on 3 and a hitch, and then in a game it's hitch, 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 the more you've repped that in practice, he's going to move on quicker through his reads. This is, again, on schedule, getting through his deal, and you can apply that to anything. Once they get really good at it, just like the last slide, I would recommend you can add pass rush and things like that. So now they're moving through stuff with physical deals, making them move, again, keeping their eyes downfield. The coaching point here would just be to keep their eyes and their feet and their hips tied together. So once we've moved on from 1 to 2, whatever that is, everything traveling together, not the eyes, then the body, or vice versa. So everything timing up together, tying into whatever your system is. But I just think this is a really good drill to get through that you can be really creative with. All right, so then off schedule obviously is kind of the play's broken down, and now we're in backyard football mode, kind of what I'd call getting better at the controlled chaos of the game. I think oftentimes it's an overlooked part of drill work, just from the simple fact that, a certain percentage of every single game is played off schedule, and the really great ones on all levels are really good off schedule, not only at making plays, but eliminating bad plays. It's one thing to be kind of a gunslinger and to be known as the guy who's kind of boom or bust, but I think if you look at the way the game is trending, the really good players at all levels are not only really good off schedule, but they really take care of the football. I mean, obviously Jordan mentioned Rodgers and Mahomes. I mean, if you look at, their touchdown interception ratio, it's through the roof, and obviously they're the outliers, but that's pretty much what it's getting to, is guys who can make plays with their feet and also take care of the ball. So in my opinion, if that's a big part of the game, as it's increasingly becoming, we need to drill it in the off season. It'd be tough to ask a guy to make his first off-platform throws, on game day. So I'm a big fan of doing this. I'm also a big fan just of other quarterback guys, like quarterback coaches, off-season guys, of allowing for creativity here and not overcoaching the quarterback. I think there's a lot to be said for the fundamentals of quarterback play when we're on schedule and navigating a pocket and firing the right way. But because this stuff is so off script by nature, it's off schedule, I think allowing guys to make mistakes in practice and kind of get to know their body is critical. Not to bring up Mahomes again, but you look at the stuff he does in practice, just messing around. That's him committing to muscle memory, how his body moves. So my opinion, I wouldn't overcoach this mechanically, because it's going to force, you want to force some awkward arm angles and body positions, and they're going to mess up and it's going to look sloppy at times. But to me, it all adds up. So I'm a big fan of that element here. So here's just a pretty basic example. There's a lot of ways you can get to it, and you can move the receiver at different depth spots on the field. But essentially here, what we're doing is we're taking a drop. I've done it where you can number cones at where those arrows are, one being an escape far to our left, two kind of at a 45, three down the middle to the left, 4, 5, 6. A lot of ways you can do it, but essentially what you're doing is this. You have a receiver stand stationary at whatever place you put them, but for this example, let's just say it's 10 yards over the ball. Once you give the quarterback a command, whether it's visual of where to go or a number, once he breaks, the receiver has to pick and stick any angle to the side that he breaks. So orange is left here and white is to the right. So if the quarterback breaks to the left, the receiver has free reign to break any direction. He just has to stick to that angle, and the quarterback has to make a throw. The coaching point would be, as soon as you break contain or break on the move, now we're off schedule to the quarterback, find his angle and make the throw as quickly as possible to force essentially an awkward angle from a body standpoint or an arm angle. So break, pick up his angle, make a throw. And again, it'll get better with time, and that goes either way. So if he goes left, the receiver can go any angle to the left, and then so on and so forth to the right. Again, it's not break and take forever. It's break, pick it up, get the ball up and down. And it'll get, from my experience, it'll get cleaner with time, both from the quarterback and the receiver standpoint. So that's really good. The goal here is for the quarterback to be, you hear it all the time, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And the more situations you can put them like that, the better. And then another thing we'll get to in the next slide, actually, yeah. So here's something I kind of stole that I really liked, which is you can add in a DB, and it can be either a DB if you want it to be, or just another receiver, and he's going to mirror kind of off a few yards behind and a few yards inside. And as soon as we break, the receiver picks an angle, and the DB is going to try to mirror him. So it kind of forces that ball to come out on time. You can mix up the leverage of the DB. You can mix up, if you want, one at a time, two at a time, but it's essentially the next evolution of that drill in terms of find an angle, make a throw. And another thing here that's important is drilling if it's not there for the quarterbacks to tuck and run. So we get on the move, we remain a passer, we're a threat downfield. If they don't feel comfortable making a throw, obviously in practice we want to work on angles and touch balls and all that. If they don't feel comfortable making a throw, or he picks an angle and he runs right into the guy, I think it's really good for a quarterback. I have pressure, I've escaped, nothing's there, tuck it and run. That's a valuable rep to me. And you can show that again. You can tie that back to game film of guys getting on the move, nothing's there, tuck it, take care of yourself, get down. The more you can work on that stuff, the better. Another thing you can do here, coaches, is if you have scramble drill rules, it's a good time to kind of kill two birds with one stone in terms of you're working off schedule with your quarterback, and whatever your scramble drill rules are, hey, if you're low, go high. If you're high, go low. You can have your receivers do that, and it's good work. And you can definitely do that. The next evolution of that being, let's say you had two receivers out there and one DB, and you tell the DB on the whistle whenever the quarterback breaks, plaster one of them. It's another good deal to get the quarterback's eyes. We break contain. Where's the open guy? What angle is he on? Make a throw. And if you did 2-on-2, same deal, letting him see more. And if you get confused, you don't see it, nothing's there, again, kind of tucking and get down. And again, that's just practicing how you're playing. So those are just a couple examples. We've got a couple of those on the playbook, the coach's playbook online. But just things, like I said, that you can fit into your system, however you see fit, that I think come up a lot of times, in every football game. So with that, yeah, I think we're opening it up to questions. So appreciate you guys. All right.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Jordan. Sorry, I was muted there. So we're going to open the floor to some questions. Quick reminder, if you do have questions, please drop them in the chat. I do have some questions that were submitted when people sign up online. So first question is for Jordan. So Jordan, if you were to teach QB reads, so if you're teaching QB reads, is there a specific defender that you're reading, or is it an area read with a set progression, or does it depend on the situation? Oh, Jordan, I think you're muted actually. Now, try now.
Got me now?
Yeah.
Okay, the answer is both. We'll have things built into our offense that are based on a single defender. So for a given concept, we'll tell the quarterback if we have a concept built for a low halfback to the boundary, for example, or a high halfback to the field, for example. We'll tell the quarterback if we call this concept and that halfback is high, then that's the side of the field that you're working, and we should be in good shape. At the same time, there definitely are what we call pure progression reads in our offense, where we say we don't care what you want to play defensively. Our quarterback's just going to go through our progression, and it's just going to be like the slide Danny had with the dotted lines a couple minutes ago. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across the board. So we're going to start with our primary concept. If it's there, awesome, ball's gone. Okay, if it's not there, if the defense takes it away, big deal. We'll just reset our feet. We'll move our body. Okay, and we'll go through our progression across the board until we find an answer.
Great, thank you. We have another question that was directed at you as well, Jordan. I don't know if you ever coached at an amateur football level, but if you were to evaluate a new football team of teenage kids before assigning them to the best position based on their skills, how would you go about that? How would you determine who plays what position on the football team you're coaching?
I mean, that's a tough question. I guess it's just natural ability would be the first thing, and running them through drills specific to each position and just finding who the natural guys are. Speaking from a quarterback perspective, there's people that are natural throwers of the football, and there's people that aren't. I mean, some guys just do not have that natural motion. They just cannot put the spin on the football, and other guys can just pick it up and be natural about it. So you're going to find those guys. It's the same as far as foot speed and agility when you're talking DBs, same as hands when you're talking about receivers, things like that. So I would run guys through as many drills as you can think of and just try and pull their natural abilities and slot them in that way. Danny, I don't know if you've got anything working with young guys to expand on that.
The only thing that came in is I feel like if we were coaching youth, you want to win, but I would be a fan maybe too of rotating some guys around, particularly you just don't know how guys are going to grow. So like playing some kids at running back, some getting them outside, inside, on the line, even at a tight end. Obviously, if you're naturally a bigger kid, maybe you are more confined to O-line, but even then, O-line, D-line, maybe some stuff, just because I feel like at that age, the more you can be exposed to, you kind of never stop being surprised with what kids can do, with time. So I would maybe be a fan too of rotating guys around with the objective being more development than kind of winning at all costs, and letting them kind of grow into things that they're good at or things they like. Yeah, but other than that, I'd see it the exact same. Yeah.
Great. And then I got a couple questions here for Danny. So Danny, first one, and it's kind of a two-parter. What drills will help develop a young quarterback? And if I had, I guess, basically a QB positional battle, what are you looking for in determining who should be QB1 and QB2?
Drill. I think the biggest thing you can get across to young quarterbacks, especially, is, and Jordan talks so awesomely on it with the slides, was that once you can get them bought into the fact that quarterback is 80% not about your actual arm, and that it is your core and legs and feet, I think that changes the mindset of things. So for drills, I would really focus on hip drive and a balanced finish over where your arm is. You hear that so often, like, get your arm here, get your arm there, and Jordan nailed it. Like, the more you get kids, you have to hit a spot, they become very robotic. So I would focus so much on hip drive. I'm sure most people here have seen Matt Ryan or Dak Prescott with that really weird looking warm-up up and down the field that's gone viral on memes. That's the hip drive drill that Jordan was talking about, the counter action. So if you haven't seen it, just YouTube Dak Prescott warm-up or Matt Ryan warm-up. Getting them to the core and the hips are the engine or the power of the throw, not the arm. So that being one, hips and feet and balance finish way before where your arm is. That's kind of the fine tuning and the sanding. Picking a quarterback, I mean, it depends what you're doing. Is he more of a run? Do you run more of a? If you run more of a run first deal, it might go to the better athlete. If you're trying to drop back, which guy is more accurate or kind of gets it more, and maybe you kind of rotate and let it sort itself out that way. But I think that just kind of depends on what you're looking to get out of the position and what you guys do. If you're not throwing it a bunch, maybe it is the better athlete. Or if you say, hey, I want to work on, dropping back and throwing it at a young age and developing them, maybe you go with the guy who can throw it a little. I would just say the guy who kind of throws more on time and more accurately at that age, for sure. But yeah.
Okay, great. And I just got one more question that came through the chat here, and at Danny again. Can you describe your scramble rules? So I think they're meaning like what are you looking for when it's time to scramble out of the pocket? What are some things?
The most general one, and I'd love for Jordan to expand on it too, because some teams in the CFL have been really good at it. The general one, if you're low, go high. If you're high, go low, and work to the side of the quarterback. So if you're behind the quarterback when he scrambles, work to get into his vision or mirror him. If you're already on the sideline and you're low, I've seen both go high and stay high because someone high is going to come low, or press vertical, sell it deep, and come back to the sideline if you don't win as an outlet. Those would be kind of some general scramble rules. Jordan, I don't know if you want to expand on that some, but that's kind of the general basis of it.
Yeah, exactly what Danny said is what is taught, I think, across football, and what we teach as far as if you're low, go high. If you're high, go low. If you're on the back side of the play, we say you need to get into the quarterback's vision. So the quickest way you could possibly do that, get in the quarterback's eyesight. And then the point that Danny just said at the end, I think, is really important, especially for guys that are like, if you have a flat route or if you have somebody super low in the pass pattern, if you can designate a guy to press high and then slam on the brakes after 4 or 5 steps and break it off and come back low, that's really going to get guys open, especially if they're to the sideline, because you're going to get DBs that think this guy was low, the quarterback scrambling, he's going to go high. And then if you teach one guy to slam on the brakes and come back down, it's really going to get that DB off of him and create that buffer for that last second for the quarterback to get the ball out of his hand before he has to scramble or throw it away.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. So that concludes our first webinar on QB development tonight. I want to thank Jordan and Danny for hopping on the call here for the last 70 minutes or so. We hope everyone can join us next Wednesday for offensive line play with Kelly Bates. So if you haven't signed up for that one yet, please go ahead and do so and let your coaching colleagues know about that if they're interested in learning more about offensive line play. That wraps up our webinar tonight. Once again, I'm Tyler. Thank you for joining us. We want to thank again BOSA Construction and GML Mechanical for presenting the Coach's Playbook. And yeah, have a great evening, everyone, and we'll see you next week.